Okay, so today's video. Someone had asked me who Lyle Mcdonald is. I keep quoting him over and over again. I think it's more important to understand why I quote anyone. So let me just tell you how my process works as a trainer for the last 20 plus years. What I do is I find someone who I think is really smart and has a lot of practical information I can use to benefit my clients. And for a year, 2 years, 3 or 4 years, whatever it is, I try to focus on finding everything that person wrote, all the videos they made, podcasts they've done, and I try to learn as much from that person as I possibly can. I've done this numerous times in my career. I make sure not to turn the person into a guru, because gurus want you to follow them because they always have something to sell you. But here's the deal. Years and years ago, I followed this guy, learned a ton of stuff from him in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then he did this thing that Lyle Mcdonald talks about. He went full potato. He got really into poop. I don't know why he got so into poop, but he became obsessed with duty. And at that point, I'm like, all right, this guy, you know what? I'll check in on him in the future, but I think I've gotten out of him what I need to get out of him, and I'm going to move on. And then there was this other guy I learned a lot from in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But then he went full potato, and he started making all these outrageous claims, like Dr. Evil's dad, like he invented the question mark. Like he started getting into like anabolic pomegranates and nectarines, whatever the hell it was. And I was like, all right, look, I've learned what I need to learn from you, and now I'm going to move on. I'll check in on you in the future, see if you've evolved or come up with anything new that I can use. But that's my process. I'm basically like the Borg, right? Minus assimilating people. I take whatever I learn from people and I add it to their distinctiveness, to my own distinctiveness, and in the end, my clients benefit. So recently, I've been reading a lot by this guy, Lyle Mcdonald. He has a lot of things to say that really benefit my clients. But you also got to give the guy credit, or anybody credit, for what they've come up with. So that's why I quote him so often. The reason why I quote him so often now is because he's the guy I'm reading a lot of stuff by. And that's it. So that's why I quote him, and it's very, very pertinent for today, because the thing I wanted to talk about was something he had posted on the body recomposition forums about something I've been rambling on for about 20 years about how do you pick the right exercise. And if you're watching my videos, you've got one simple goal, and that's to build a little bit of muscle so you can be physically independent for as long as possible and be harder to kill from things like falls and diseases. I'm not talking about Steven Seagal going out and taking out corrupt cops and politicians. If you understand that the reason why you watch my videos is that you're just trying to build a little muscle and not win a gold medal in judo in the Olympics, then you'll understand what Lyle Mcdonald was writing about in this article, this post, whatever it was. There's really only 3 things you have to worry about to whether or not an exercise is a good exercise or, more importantly, the right exercise for you. You will find people who will just rant on and on. Not like how I rant on and on. They got more like an agenda. And their rants are all about how this is the exercise you have to do. This is the way you have to train. This is the best way to do it. And the answer is, no, shut up. This is the best way for you and your goals and your body type. And here's what they don't know, your psychology in order to train. It is not the right way for everyone to train. That's why I really like this post that he put up, because it gave you the 3 things you need to know. He said something that I've been saying for years, but never put it this clearly. He said, it's never about the exercise, it's about the principles behind the exercise. And if you understand these 3 principles, you'll understand for yourself how to pick whether an exercise is good or not. Not because some guy with thick wrists and elephant calves told you they need to squat, bench, and deadlift. Right? Not someone who has super flexible hips like Hansel, right, in Zoolander at the walk-off told you have to be an Olympic lifter. And because some really small bone guy who failed at powerlifting tells you have to take bands in all these weird directions, or some guy who has a certain body frame just does push-ups and pull-ups all the time and thinks that that's the right thing for everybody. So here are the 3 principles, because I've already ranted on long enough. Number 1, the exercise has to work the muscle you're targeting it for, all right? One thing people always say, Shank, I like these videos. All right, you make a lot of non sequiturs and you ramble on, and the videos probably can be like 2 minutes long when they're like 25 minutes long. But at least you keep things simple. So let me make it simple. If you're just trying to build a little bit of muscle, You divide the body up into 7 major muscle groups. Chest, back, shoulders, biceps, triceps, front of the thigh, back of the thigh. And you pick one exercise for each one of those muscle groups, doing between 6 to 9 sets for a beginner, or 9 to 12 sets for someone more advanced, spread out evenly over 7 days. And if you do that, you're good. I know I just pissed off a lot of the wacko exercise people. I don't care. I'm not making these videos for them. They're annoying enough as it is. I don't need to address them in my free time. So pick an exercise that works one of those muscle groups. If it's a chest exercise, it needs to work the chest. If it's a back exercise, it needs to work the back. If you don't feel it in the chest and you don't feel it in the back, and you've been practicing the exercise for a couple weeks and you've got a pretty good feel for it, it's probably not the right exercise for you right now, or maybe not ever. That's why beginners tend to do better with more isolated, easier exercises, because it's easier for them to feel it in the targeted muscle faster. They can start making results from day one and spending 3 months to learn how to do the exercise right. So that's number one. It's got to work the muscle you want it to work. Number two, it can't hurt you. It can't injure you. And exercises that maybe didn't injure you in your 20s might very well injure you in your 40s, because your body in your 20s is not the same as your body in your 40s. Right? So the exercise can't hurt you. Now, my law used to always say that every exercise has a muscle that's working, and every exercise has a muscle that's not supposed to work. And your job is to use the exercise, the technique, the speed, the weight that lets you work the muscle you want to work and not work the muscles you don't want to work. So that's kind of like both his first two principles. One, it's got to work the muscle it's targeted to work. Number two, it's got to not hurt you, regardless of how great an exercise somebody says it is. And number three, you've got to be able to progressively work it over time. You've got to be able to progressively overload it, whether that's more sets, more reps, or more weight. Because the body is an adaptive mechanism. It's very simple. How do we build muscle? In a simple sense, you provide a mechanical stimulus to the muscle. If that mechanical stimulus is of an adequate intensity and volume, it creates a disturbance in the muscle that creates a chemical reaction. Mechanical equals chemical. That chemical reaction is then how your body builds muscle. It's that simple. So you want to pick the exercise that causes, with a weight that causes an adequate degree of mechanical stimulus to get that chemical reaction in the targeted muscle you want to work. If you're just trying to build a little muscle, if you're just trying to be functionally independent for as long as possible, if you're just trying to be harder to kill, that's all you need to do. It's that simple. People overcomplicate this stuff because they have a bias based on what worked for their body, what they were taught. Look, when weight training started out, your coach was either a power lifter, a bodybuilder, an Olympic weightlifter, and that greatly influenced how you thought everyone should train. But the industry has grown. We've understood, especially as normal people have come to do it, not just athletes. Right? So we understand that not everyone's built for every exercise. And if you follow those three principles, as Lyle Mcdonald has kind of honed in on, I've kind of been rambling about for 20 years, you'll get it. It's got to work the muscle it's supposed to work. It's got to not hurt you. And you've got to be able to progressively load it over time, because the body is an adaptive machine, for lack of a better word. If you can do that, then you've picked the right exercise. And anytime somebody comes up to you and says, no, this is the right exercise, without taking those three things into context, and without taking in the overall context that your goal is just to build a little goddamn muscle, just walk away. Just okay, thank you. And if you can learn something from it, fantastic. But you know, it's like those guru guys I talked about. I learned a lot from them. They go full potato, and then I move on with my life. That's it. In summary, pick one exercise for each one of your 7 major muscle groups: back, chest, shoulders, biceps, triceps, front of the thigh, back of the thigh. Pick exercises that allow you to work that targeted muscle group wherever you're at in your lifting life. And that may be, for some of you, a leg extension versus a squat, because you can't feel your thighs on a squat. You only feel your low back because you don't have the body type or the technique to do the exercise that effectively under load. So you pick an exercise that works a muscle group you can currently work. It can't hurt you. If it hurts and you're doing the technique correctly, don't do that exercise. I don't care what other people say. They're just shoving their bias on you. And number 3, you need, over time, not every workout, not everyone's like a beginner where they get stronger every workout, but over time, you gotta be able to do more sets, more reps, and more weight, or a combination thereof. If you got that, you just picked the right exercise. Done. Thank you very much. Goodbye.